Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat.
And a splendid evening to you. This is Newsline Live, and my guest this evening is better known as Mr. 1990, and he's none other than the member of the SJB, Dr. Harsha de Silva, an economist to boot. Very good evening to you, Dr. Harsha.
Good evening, Faraz.
Now then, forced conversions, downgrades, high cost of living, no solutions yet for the long-suffering SMEs. There's a budget coming. Where's the magic coming from? Shall we look at the first forced conversions? You're not talking religion here.
Yeah, that too. I think today Gnanasaratero had said, as the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on so-called One Country, One Law, that he will be bringing back the discussion that he had as the head of the BBS into this Presidential Task Force. And he did say about forced conversions, but
as well. But yeah, he wasn't talking about foreign exchange.
No, he wasn't. But let's get to our subject here. Well, I mean, you've seen the reactions over the weekend on the gazette issued by the governor of the central bank.
Yeah.
In terms of mandatory conversion or repatriation of all export proceeds and subsequent conversion of all of it after allowing for certain allowed expenditures, including raw material and things of that nature. So
is it a bit draconian to ask them to change, or is it fair and equitable to ask them to, they've used Sri Lanka to make whatever it is they make, they export it, or they trade, but they're trading out of here, and isn't it fair for our country to expect them to bring back the monies they make?
You see, it is a competitive market. So, I mean, there is no reason for anyone to operate out of a country that is overregulated when there are countries in the neighborhood and elsewhere that allow them to sort of make their own business decisions based on their cash flows and their projections. Now, you see, technically, we didn't have this rule earlier. It was brought, unfortunately, by the Yapalne government, I think in 2016, and then at the time, people who are doing it now opposed it.
Right.
Instead of getting rid of it, they have actually tightened it. But earlier it wasn't this overregulated.
Why,
but to some extent.
Why would there be reluctance on the part of dollar earners who are getting it outside? Why would there be a reluctance on their part to bring it back?
You see, I mean, it is a business decision. It's a business decision, and to say that the export is not complete until and unless all the proceeds are converted back to rupees, there is no such thing.
There's no such thing. Let me just remind the public out there, the viewing public, that tonight we have a different number for your SMSs, just temporarily, just hopefully just for today. 0772 300 303. 0772 300 303. The production team will put a card up on your screen soon. Is it because this reluctance, is it because in the past the exchange rate and the availability of dollars is pretty stable and they were able to get what they wanted at the time, and now it's not?
You see, the thing, Faraz, I have been always saying is that the market must be allowed to operate without too much regulation and too much control. See, what has happened is the central bank says that the value of the currency is as per their determination in terms of dollars, 202 rupees and 99 cents. But in fact, that is not the true value of the currency. Because the moment you step outside, you go to Chatham Street, you'll find out what the market rates are. So there is a black market for dollars because the controlled price, at the controlled price, the goods are not available.
The dollars are not available.
Yeah, when I see, I mean, it's the same thing with rice. You know, you have a fixed price for rice at 98 rupees. There was no rice available. Of course, there's rice available at earlier at 120 for Nadu, but now of course it's almost 140 for Nadu, 165 for Samba, and 225 for Kiri Samba. Take for instance LP gas. You know, they had a price control. There was no LP gas. Once the prices were adjusted to reflect market prices, then the goods arrived. But now once again,
mysteriously arrived.
Nothing mysterious about it. It's just
got released into the market.
Yeah, because that's a fair price.
Yeah.
But of course, once again, the prices apparently will have to go up because as of yesterday, today, there is no gas available. Same thing with milk powder. You know, same thing with treasury bills. For instance, when they price controlled the 12-month T-bills at 5% for us, nobody wanted to, purchase treasury bills. And what happened? The central bank had to print the money because people were not willing to purchase it at the government stipulated price. So same thing with dollars here. Now you look at, I'll tell you a good example. You look at the monthly inward remittances.
Yes.
We used to get about $700 million a month. That has fallen to $350 million a month. 50%.
As low as that now.
As low as that now. You just look at the central bank's report for last month. It's 50%. Why is that? Because that person who is earning in the Middle East or wherever does not want to convert her dollars at 199 rupees to the dollar. That's what the government says it is going to pay them, 199 rupees.
Does this mean they're not sending back money home, or are they using some traditional method?
Yeah, they are using a roundabout way, Hawala and all these other undial systems. So what happens there is not those dollars won't come in. It's just it's exchanged in wherever it is, the overseas location. For rupees locally, so those also are not coming in. So I mean the exporters also, I mean, speak to exporters, and what they're saying is, look, we are doing the right thing. We are bringing our dollars in, and I heard that at the meeting they said, not you guys, not the big guys. The big guys are bringing. Those are the small guys. They're not bringing. I mean, but there must be some analysis done, and in fact the central bank said that the numbers don't match, in that the customs numbers don't match with the inward remittances. I mean, you must understand that it is not connected in that the time zones, the times are different. For instance, you may export today, but you may receive payment months later. So you can't really match that. And also there are certain sort of assumed figures also. I mean, the value that is assumed to have been added locally. If you bring the material, if you bring the other inputs, and then you just stitch and send out. It's a tailor shop method. But so by doing this, what you're doing is you're discouraging people from actually bringing in more investments. Because the exporter, if you have actual market value reflected for your currency, then none of this will happen. You don't need to put all these archaic regulations and over-regulate the market. I mean, you cannot beat the market. And I don't know how many times these people need to be told that neither their gazettes nor their regulations or bringing the military can control the market. You see, so you have to ensure that you do things that are market friendly. Regulation must be light touch. There must be confidence in the market. Players must feel that they are not being over-regulated.
So what do you say? Are you saying that the central bank, instead of maintaining this artificial 203 nearly rupees to the dollar, ought to be making it more reflective of the real market, and it might even be 225 then?
I mean, I don't know exactly what the market
the curbside rate is.
No, curbside rate is, I don't know, 220, 225, 230.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is always overshooting. You see, there's a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
Right. So what it will settle at, I don't know. But I don't think that it will have such a massive fall. I'm not looking at it going to 235, 240. No, I don't think so. But now what they're trying to do is to try and bring in as much foreign currency in. They are trying to bring the swaps. They are saying they got some long-term credit facility, some loan from somewhere. But there is really no credibility in those statements, because this has been said over and over and over again, right?
Is it the situation where if you tell a lie many times enough, that it may well turn out to be perceived as true?
You see, there's one thing Nivad Cabral has done right, and that is he has removed the price control on treasury bill auctions. Which means that the central bank is now willing to pay more than 5% for folks who are investing in 1 year treasuries. So the rates have actually moved up by about 350 basis points, meaning now rates are 8 closing upon 8.5% from 5%.
Right. There were no takers at 5.
No takers at 5. So what's happening is interest rates are moving up, and it will have to go up further. And what they're also expecting is at these rates, right, there will be foreigners who may want to invest in treasury bills locally, because see, for them it's a huge return, given the rupee will not depreciate by more than the difference in the return they get here as opposed to their home country or some other country that they can invest in. So if there is confidence that the currency will hold at higher interest rates, dollars will flow in. So the question is, at what point, how much will interest rates have to rise for dollar investments to come here, get converted to LKR, and then invest in treasury bills, say for a year, and then convert back into US dollars and take it back, right?
Without making a loss.
Yeah, not only without making a loss, but obviously a relatively better return from other competitive investment opportunities.
And on that note, let's go for a quick break and take a peek at this evening's headlines. We've got various questions from the public, which we'll take soon after the break. Remember, just for today, the SMS number is 0772 300 303. And let's take a look, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. I'm in conversation with Dr. Harsha de Silva from the SJB. SMS to 0772 300 303, please. Here we go. Tourism is down, workers' remittances is down, US dollars into the country is only by exporters at an average of $1 billion US dollars per month since January 2021. The government needs to work hand in hand with exporters, needs to introduce export-friendly budget proposals. What do you have to say?
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, absolutely right. You see, I have been saying for us, for a long period of time now, what we need to do is to break down the tariff walls around our country. That we need to build bridges from Sri Lanka to the world, region and beyond. We must realize that in today's context, that there are things called global production networks, which means that components are manufactured in so many different parts of the world. I think I told you the story about Faraz, this iPhone.
Yes.
That this iPhone components are made in 43 different countries, right? And sometimes half-built ones, move across borders more than once.
Yeah.
So, regulations and permits and licenses slow down that process. It discourages investors from actually putting money in the country, have skin in the game, because instead of what we call consumer driven production networks, what we need is what are called producer driven production networks, so that you become part of a, say, patented production process. That is what we need. And in order to do that, budget, you said something about it, right?
Yes.
Or policies.
Yeah. So what are the chances of this budget being reflective of these sensible options?
I don't think so. I'm not looking forward to that kind of ideological change in 1 year. When Professor Lakshman came in, he said, or at the time he was leaving, he said he was sort of part responsible for the alternate economic plan that the president brought in, his Saubhagya Dakma and so on. And that calls for a import substitution economy. Import substitution is 180 degrees different from export promotion. Import substitution is trying to build in this country, manufacture in this country stuff, goods, services that always is possible to be made here as opposed to being imported.
But sorry, go on.
No. But then you think about the market. We are only looking at a small market.
Yeah.
Even if you don't import anything, right, and you produce everything here, how much can we grow? That's a simple, idea that for us to have economies of scale, for us to have bigger market, and for our exporters to grow, for the domestic economy to flourish, for our investors to actually make solid investments, then we must be able to manufacture goods and services that are competitive. And you look at the Capital Maharaja Group itself, you make competitive products, competitive services. Look at some of the companies that are, yours is a conglomerate that has both local manufacturing and export. But look at purely export companies. They can compete with anyone, anywhere, at any point in time. So these are the companies that we need to sort of promote, not just substituting imports.
Dr. Harsha, can I ask you this? Shall we just forget all about foreign direct investments, especially in light of the latest ratings from the different agencies?
I mean, I saw a barrage,
Yeah.
These guys were hammered by the central bank. A couple of hours after the ratings downgrade came, and that
Does it help?
Yeah, how can it help? How can it help? It just shows that we are not willing to accept reality, right? I mean, we can't live in some dream world. We have to be able to, and also we have to have the strength and the courage to really accept reality for what reality is.
And the reality is that the government, or some departments anyway, have acted utterly unprofessional, as we all saw with the importation of organic fertilizer.
I mean, these are own goals now for us.
Yeah.
I mean, who in the right mind would go ahead and ban all chemical fertilizer, in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, who would do that? Why would you do that? So I don't have answers to these questions as to who gave the president this kind of nonsensical advice to go ahead and, overnight do this silly thing. And, I don't mind if these mistakes are going to cost them their term of office. I don't care. That's not the point, right? It's in fact good. But the problem is we are going to be driven to some sort of, serious food crisis. I don't want to use the word famine, but people are not willing to cultivate. You just drive around and see how many people have refused to, cultivate this season.
But there's also a specter of power cuts as well.
Yes, because where is the money to bring in the coal, the fuel? The LPG issue is the LNG matter is a complete mess up. You see, and I mean, I am not saying this. Udaya Gammampila said this is the most corrupt regime ever. This was said by Gammampila and Veeravansa, one of the two, or both, I don't know, right? And to say that never ever in the history of this country's post-independence, governments, that a company has been, an unsolicited bid has been entertained while the bids already, submitted were being reviewed, right? And also, I am not talking about the sale of 40%. That's another matter, right? We need foreign investments. We can find a way in which some of these things can be made into public-private partnerships. So I am not saying, look, just because I'm in the opposition, I'm opposed to this. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
What I'm saying is to give on unsolicited basis a long-term contract which is going to be a monopoly to supply, natural gas,
right,
forever and ever, right? Without any transparency, without any, absolutely no competition, cannot be accepted. It can be an American company, it can be a Chinese company, it can be an Indian company, or it can be a Japanese company. That is not what matters. What matters is that as a sovereign nation, right, we need to be able to determine from where, at what price, and whom we procure,
the LNG or
whatever it is.
Yeah.
You see, I mean, while it is true that there are sunk costs, the FSRU has to be built, the pipelines have to be built, so there's a capital cost. See, for us, I used to teach a class, to engineers in Moratuwa on economics. It was called, it was an MBA on infrastructure. And what I was trying to explain to those guys was that there is competition in the market and competition for the market. So in these types of investments, it is not competition in the market, because you can't have 2-3 players out there with so many FSRUs and so many pipelines supplying LNG. But for a particular period of time, you can have a competitive process by which you pick one party and then you give a concession for, say, 3 years or 5 years, and then again you do it, and that's how you do it. So there's always the possibility of creating competition for the market.
Is there any room that they will change their mind and they'll get back to their senses and tighten it all up?
I don't know. They are saying they are not going to lock down, but they are going to shut down. That's what I heard the trade union said. I mean, if they are going to shut down, if we are going to, or once again go back, to burning candles.
Yes.
And that's, I mean, that hasn't happened in a long.
And finally, in the last minute, Dr. Harsha, how real is the risk of default by Sri Lanka?
I mean, well, there are two sides to that story. The government, and particularly Mr. Cabral, says absolutely no chance that they are going to make payment. But if you look at the numbers, there is a real chance of, at some point in the future, in the next 12 months, that we may run out of reserves. You can't wait till you run out of reserves. I mean, you need reserves for essential imports. So I don't want to say give it a percentage or what have you, but what the rating agencies are saying is there's only one more notch before it is default, right?
Just a notch more.
Just a notch more.
Serious stuff. Dr. Harsha de Silva, thank you very much for being on Newsline Live. And that is the way it was on Newsline Live this evening. Do take care. Have a wonderful week ahead of you. And as always, God bless you.